Everything that I kind of wanted and was around me that I loved at the time felt like prohibited to me. Can't even go out with my girlfriend and not get stared at. I can't even ask my dad for a sewing machine without him thinking something ignorant. In my head, it was like everything I loved was prohibited. So it kind of like started the brand, you know, it's like Prohibited Amor. My name is Bryan Escareño from Venice. My parents are from Michoacan, and I'm a designer. I would say artist, but I'm a designer. Growing up in LA the way I did, you don't really have those options to be the artistic kid. You know, I was either playing sports or like you're going to school, figuring school out. Now that I think about it, it's kind of crazy and just funny, but like we're young kids and my parents were young kids raising kids, you know? So we'd always meet up Sundays and, you know, drinking and boxing while cooking, and then they put me and my little cousin versus each other. Now thinking about like us being at a barbecue and having little kids fight is kind of crazy, but that's just normal Mexican things growing up in LA. I have pictures of that barbecue that I look back at. Now I catch myself looking at everybody's outfits. They came to a Sunday barbecue and their shirts are tucked in. You know, like why? But that was cool back then, you know, so it's just kind of like noted. I can take that image or that thought and like incorporate it in my styling for my next shoot. A certain like nostalgic aesthetic that I like to like lean into for my brand and for what I like to like portray. I just think about my past or how I can relate it to my past, or what's the narrative I'm trying to tell and how I can kind of say it in my way. Amor Prohibido started when I saw this shirt online that I really liked, and it was expensive. So I didn't want to buy it, but I had just got a sewing machine. So I decided to try to make it. After a few months, I got a little more confident and I wore one of the shirts that I made. And that day, like a lot of my coworkers and a few customers were just like, yo, nice shirt. Like, and all my coworkers were like, yo, that's a nice shirt. Didn't say anything, I was just like, thank you, thank you. But that gave me the confidence. I wore another one of the shirts, and at that point, my coworkers were like, yo, where are you getting these flannels? Like, what are these? Like, and then I told them I made it, and everything changes when you tell somebody like you made it. They were like, what do you mean you made it? I sewed it. And they're like, you know how to sew? Like, what do you? And so at that point, they started like, oh, can you make me one? Like, I'll give you like $200. Like, what do you? And so in my mind, that's when I went to like supply demand. I was like, oh, that's okay. Like they want something that I can make. Okay, cool. I think the style that I'm trying to create for Amor Prohibido is just like an elevated nostalgia, you know, like an elevated nostalgic LA. Because when you see me, I know people know, you can tell I'm from LA, you know, and if I'm wearing something of mine, you can tell it's either mine or designed in LA or made in LA. So I take pride in that, and I think that's what I'm reaching for. I'm trying to stay in like a fine line of like what used to be deemed as negative. You know, if you're wearing baggy pants, that used to be very stigmatized as negative, and now it's the trend, you know? It just depends on the angle, depends on the day, you know, depends on the mood. You know, you can be sad and a song inspires you, you know, you can be happy and then the right person walking by can inspire you, you know, it really can just be anything. You have to be in the mindset for it too. You have to be open to receiving that inspiration. Because I think we all grow up as Mexican men with that pressure of like, or Latino men with that pressure to like get approval from your father. Like just, I'm proud of you, or good job. So I think we all strive to just kind of prove ourselves. But I think it's a funny, like counterintuitive thing where it's like, it finally happens when you say, fuck it. And I think now he sees it. You know, I'm Paris, September, Japan, November, you know, collabs all starting next year. You know, it's like, I think he's realizing, you know, like it just took like me listening to that little inner voice and like really taking a chance on myself. He's saved my life, you know, in many ways. And he's my biggest hero and my biggest inspiration. But I think that's a crutch, or like a, you know, my dad, I just want to prove him right. And at some point it's like, I just want to prove myself right too. You know, I want to be happy. Paris is influenced by New York, right? New York is influenced by LA. And so by default, LA is influencing Paris. And who's influencing LA? So let's think about that. Like, I really think about that, and it's like, okay, so if I'm influencing LA, and LA is influencing New York, and New York is influencing Paris, like, there's a big responsibility there.